It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
And we're coming to you live in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero. It's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you're listening, whenever you're watching, hope you're doing all right today. Today's show, she's being brought to you in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located on St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Give my man Sal a call, 912-268-2328, or visit his website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simon's to get a decent Italian meal. And speaking of St. Simon's, join us for our next Billy C get-together, which is going to kind of surround around the joke of a fight we're calling McGregor-Mayweather. A lot of you boxing fans aren't going to bother to spend the money, so come on down to St. Simon's at the beautiful Sea Palms Resort and enjoy a weekend of fun with Sal and myself, along with former world champions Marlon Starling, Bobby Ches, and Mike Hercules Weaver. We're also going to have renowned trainer Sherman Henson stop by and work out. Yes, work out Sal Rocky Senecola. You don't want to miss this. Plus, not only that, we'll have a meet and greet. You can hang out with everybody. There's some hors d'oeuvres being served, all of that stuff. We also are going to have a little golf tournament, and we are going to show you at least one episode of our new series called Billy C's Boxing Revisited, which is going to begin airing in the fall. But you'll get to watch it first, the completed versions of that. As we show that. So come on down, hang out with us and Marlon and Bobby Ches and Mike Weaver and have a great time. Just visit cpalms.com and give them a call. Tell them you want to hear the Billy C boxing specials that they have. And by the way, we will be watching the McGregor-Mayweather fight. That's right. We will be trashing Sal's place. We'll be eating there. And listen, you'll have a great time. What better way to end the summer than hanging out with us in a Billy C get-together? Visit cpalms.com, give them a call, tell them to mention, or you mention Billy C Boxing Special, or just visit our website, billycboxing.com, and click the CPalms banner. Also, today's show is being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. Get yourself a copy of this now. Find out why I'm so adamant about bringing to light the historical Tom Molyneux and why you should know who this guy is. You can get a copy right now by visiting Barnes & Noble or Amazon.com. Or if you want a signed copy, just come up to me when you see me at an event, or just visit our website, billycboxing.com, and click on the book. Coming up in a little bit later, Dax Khan will be joining us. Sal Rocky Senecola will not be here today. He's got some other things going on. No problemo. We got some fight results to talk about. We got some other stuff. This week's Blast from the Past, which is going to take place on Wednesday. Fritzy Zivic, as requested by you. Don't forget, if you want a specific Blast from the Past, just drop me an email, Billy@TalkinBoxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com. If you take the time to send me an email, I'll take the time to read it. And speaking of taking the time, we also want to talk about our fights that took place this past weekend. The fights that took place this past weekend, I should say, not our fights, but I got an email to read from my man Joel. And today's topic, and I know Dax is going to talk about it too when he comes on a little bit later, but today's topic, which is pretty good. The fight that's coming up this weekend, Terence Crawford against Julius Indongo. First of all, this is a lot better of a fight than you may be thinking. I mean, Terence Crawford has looked so fantastic in the ring, since he kind of busted onto the scene. And I say busted onto the scene because a lot of people forget that Terence Crawford was a fighter that was originally brought in as the B-side, the infamous B-side of a fight, and won. And then they kind of set him up again, and he won again. And all of a sudden, they're like, whoa, wait a minute. Maybe this is the guy. And since then, he's taken the division by storm and moved up a division, as a matter of fact. Now, here's the thing. Indongo, in his own right, has done pretty well for himself as well. Now, the reason why that this is such a historical fight is, first of all, I believe that Julius Indongo is extremely underrated. This is a fighter that was not handed a title. He earned his title and then earned the second one he collected. And when you look at Terence Crawford, he's got 2 belts. This is one of the, I can't remember the last time we had all 4 major sanctioning bodies on the line for a fight in a division where the winner clearly can say that he cleaned up the division. And that's what's going to take place after this weekend. The winner of this fight will have cleaned up the junior welterweight division. And I'm looking forward to it. And I don't think it's an easy fight. I think we're going to see maybe the best performance from Terence Crawford. We know we're going to see the best performance from Julius Indongo because he's going to have to perform well to get by, my man Terence Crawford. Now, Terence Crawford, there's nothing to dislike, at least in my opinion. There's nothing to dislike about this guy because he does things well and does it well often. Does that make sense? Well, what I mean is he goes in and he does have a tendency to have a feel-out round or 2 or even 3. But what I like about Terence Crawford, first of all, he's the complete package. And what I mean by that is Terence Crawford is a fighter who has good defense. He has good boxing ability in terms of, the classic boxer. He can move. He's got good movement. He's smart in the ring. And the best part is he's not afraid to engage. And this is what makes him a special fighter. Not only can he box, not only can he fight safety first, not only can he scope out his opponent and break his opponent down, but he's not afraid to engage. And by doing so, he wins in dramatic fashion most of the time. Well, Indongo is similar. He likes to break down his opponent, and he gets the job done. And I think one of the things that has helped Julius Indongo is the fact that he kind of sneaks up on people. They're not familiar with him when they fight him. They kind of take him lightly. And if Terence Crawford takes Julius Indongo lightly in this fight, he too may find himself on the wrong end of the decision. I like the fight. Unfortunately, we didn't have many fights to catapult us into that fight this past weekend. But hey, we got this good one coming up. Now, in addition to the Terence Crawford-Indongo card, which will be on ESPN, also on the ESPN broadcast, Alexander Godzik is going up against Craig Baker in a, moving up the ranks kind of a fight. Godzik is 13-0, excuse me, with 11 knockouts, and Craig Baker's only been beaten 1 time. He's 17-1, 13 knockouts. So we'll see what happens in that one. That's what we're going to get to watch on the ESPN broadcast. First, that fight, and then, of course, Crawford-Indongo. But like is the case in today's world, the undercard will all be streamed. And who's going to be on the undercard? Well, the return of Mike Alvarado, former junior welterweight champion. He's donning a record of 37 wins, 4 losses, with 25 of his wins coming by knockout. He's now fighting in the welterweight division, in case y'all forgot. And also on the card, Brian Jennings, and the return of Axeman Walters, Nicholas Walters. Last time we saw him, he was quitting on his stool. Brian Jennings, the last time we saw him, he was knocked out by Luis Ortiz. And Mike Alvarado actually was coming off of a win, if I believe correctly. Shakir Stevenson will also be on that fight on the stream, and Mike Reed as well. So the streamed fights will be pretty good as well. Now, Brian Jennings, from what I understand, is going to be fighting Daniel Martz in a heavyweight fight. Jennings hasn't been in the ring for quite some time. And Daniel Martz is a big guy. He's a powerful guy, but he's not too dangerous. I don't anticipate Brian Jennings having much trouble with him. I got to call Daniel Martz a couple of his fights, actually. One that he was favored in and got knocked out. So I'm anticipating him going to sleep against Brian Jennings. But nonetheless, Brian Jennings needed to start somewhere, and he's starting with Daniel Martz. As far as the other opponents and the other fights, Dax Khan will be talking about that when he comes on a little bit later on the show. This past weekend, there was a couple of fights that I want to mention. And one of them is Armenza Garcia fought Omar Chavez. Now, Chavez is the younger brother of Julio Cesar Jr. Chavez, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Omar Chavez is the younger brother, obviously both the son of Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. Omar Chavez, when he first started, many people regarded him as a better boxer than his older brother, Junior. But he didn't look too good, or at least he didn't look good enough for the judges on Saturday. Now, if you recall, in his last fight, he had come off a win against Ramon Alvarez, Canelo Alvarez's brother, which got him into this fight against Roberto La Amenza Garcia. And Amenza Garcia, well, he won the fight via a decision. The way the judges scored it, 97-92, and two had it 96-93, all in favor of Garcia, who improves to 41 wins, 3 losses, with 24 of his wins coming by knockout. And Omar Chavez, well, he loses for the third time in his career. He drops to 36 wins, 3 losses, and a draw with 24 knockouts. The fight took place in Mexico. And one other fight I wanted to mention, actually 2 more, but one fight I want to mention right now. My man Yuriorkis Gamboa, nobody was a bigger fan of Gamboa than me. It goes all the way back to when he first swam over here on a coconut raft. I loved Gamboa, but he's clearly not the same fighter. We saw Gamboa basically quit in his last fight. But he fought very quietly this past weekend, as a matter of fact. And I pride myself on not letting much get past us here on this show in terms of what's going on in the boxing world. But it totally flew under my radar. Yuriorkis Gamboa fought Alexis Reyes this past weekend. Gamboa won the fight, but struggled again. Alexis Reyes dropped to 15-3-1, a fighter with 19 pro fights against Gamboa, who had that outrageously successful amateur career and dons now, based on this win, 27 wins, 2 losses with 17 knockouts. The way the judges scored it, all 3 of them saw it the same, 95-94. A guy like Gamboa should have destroyed Reyes. He squeaks by. And I didn't see the fight. I didn't even see highlights. But when I see a scores like 95-94 across the board for a guy like Gamboa against Reyes, no disrespect to Reyes, Reyes probably won this fight. Gamboa needs to hang him up because he's probably looking for one more payday. But if you can't destroy a guy you're supposed to destroy, now you're in danger. I really think Gamboa should consider hanging him up. Last week we talked a lot about damage to the old brain in terms of head trauma. It's the show, in case you missed it, it's the one that had the Floyd Mayweather scam in his fans title. We kind of got off topic and went really deep into the safety of the fighters. Hey, hold that thought. I'm going to take a short break, and when we come back, I'll finish up that, and then Dax Khan in about 15 minutes. Don't go anywhere.
Billy C will be right back.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
If you or a loved one have had hernia repair surgery with mesh reinforcement and suffered infection, chronic pain, mesh migration, mesh failure, organ damage, or needed additional surgery, call the Rely On Group right now. You may be eligible to receive a cash award and compensation for your medical expenses. Your voice deserves to be heard. Call the Rely On Group to be connected with a personal injury attorney for a free consultation. Call 800-715-4869. That's 800-715-4869.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to The Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us today. And speaking of being with us, don't forget, you got to come down to St. Simon's Island or up to St. Simon's Island, wherever you're from, and join us on August 25th and 26th. Yes, we are going to show the McGregor-Mayweather fight, but it's going to be 2 days of hanging out with us, eating Sal's restaurants, food, which I've been bragging about, hanging out with former world champions Marlon Starling, Bobby Ches, and Mike Weaver, watching Sal work out with Sherman Henson, also maybe playing a little golf, and in addition to having a meet and greet where you guys can literally throw down some more dervs with Marlon and Bobby and Mike Weaver and Sherman Henson, as well as Sal, Rocky Senecola, and myself. We're also going to show you a episode of our new show, Billy C's Boxing Revisited, which will be on the networks in the fall when they break out the fall programming. But we're going to give you guys a sneak preview first. It's not anywhere else right now. It's not on YouTube. It's not been broadcast anywhere else. So you get to see that, and trust me, that's worth the trip in itself, man. You guys are going to love this series, man. It's really good. So come on down, visit cpalms.com, call them up, tell them you want the Billy C special, and they'll tell you what that includes, which is a lot of stuff, food, the golf outing, the meet and greet, everything, for a really very affordable price for the 2 nights, by the way. Or just visit our website, billycboxing.com, and click on the CPalms banner. Before we went to break, I was talking about the Gamboa sad performance against Reyes. I'm saying it's sad. I honestly did not see it. Didn't even know it was happening. But when I see the scores, I'm concerned for my man Gamboa. But another fight, which I was critical of last week, Robert Alfonso is an undefeated heavyweight, and he was undefeated again this past weekend. He was 12-0 going to the fight. He's now 13-0 with 5 knockouts. And he was fighting for the USBA belt, which is part of it's a regional title from the IBF. And he was fighting Jason Bergman. Now, Jason Bergman's a tough guy, but he had lost 2 of his last 2 fights going into this fight, and actually 3 of his last 4. And he lost this one. His record now is 26-15. My question just was, how can anyone sanction a fight with a fighter who's coming off multiple losses? I don't care about the record. If a fighter, lost a bunch of fights and then got his career back on track and had a string of victories, then yeah, he's it's justified to give him a shot at a title. But this guy lost, and I don't care who they were or anything. He lost 2 fights in a row, and then all of a sudden the IBF approves him for a USBA title. I don't like it. But nonetheless, 99-91, and 2 of the judges had it 99-90 to give Alfonso the unanimous decision win. So that's what took place this past weekend. Now, I got an email that I wanted to read. This one's from my man Joel. And Joel can be found in our chat room. Now, I know you guys that are watching on a stream, or if you are watching live on the television dial or wherever, we do have multiple chat rooms. However, let me say this: there are multiple chat rooms out there. We have one. The one that we respond to is up on BillyCBoxing.com, and my man Joel is in there right now. But I also noticed him on our simulcast over on Facebook, which I just want to give a shout out to everybody that's watching us on Facebook. I appreciate it. A lot of people have joined the Facebook Live page. Now, I just want you guys to know, whoever's watching on Facebook, that's not our normal feed. That is basically a cheesy camera, and all you got is my mug. If you want the real feed, the TV feed, the feed that, when someone else is on the show, you're looking at them, multiple camera shots, that feed is also being streamed up on our YouTube channel. So if you're looking to get the full effect of the show, then visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and just play what's on the front page, or just go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/talkin, TALKIN, boxing, BOXING. No, it's not. It's youtube.com/talkin boxing. One word, TALKIN BOXING, and you'll get to that page. I'm confusing the hell out of myself today, let alone you guys. My man Joel says, hey, I ended up watching the Omar Chavez and Roberto Garcia fight Saturday night. It's because I was home and there wasn't anything else on. I was pleased to notice during the broadcast and was able to confirm by looking at my guide that the fight in Japan featuring Shinuki Yamanaka and Luis Neri will be shown live on BN Sports Espanol Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. For those home up early and interested in catching some live boxing. It shows the dedication BN Sports Espanol has in boxing, and it's great to see. If you can't watch it live, Tuesday night, they're re-showing the fight on a replay. Well, thanks for that heads up. BN Sports is a pretty decent station, and they are trying to dabble a little more in boxing. They have 2 versions of the channel. One is regular BN Sports, and the other is the BN Sports Espanol. The Espanol one does seem to have more fights on it than the standard one, but I'm glad to see that boxing is finding its way on television networks, no matter how big or small they are. And there's several others that have them out there too. And like somebody had sent me an email over the weekend saying, the best part of boxing today and the technology that we live in, the world of technology we live in, it doesn't matter where you are. If you know of a fight, you'll be able to find that fight, either a live stream version of it, one that you should be watching, and one that maybe you shouldn't be. And in the worst case, you can always get that fight the next day on YouTube. So it's a great thing. He says, I was curious on your and Sal's thoughts on the matter of the boxing career for Conor McGregor after the Floyd fight. I tend to feel Conor will pursue another fight or two in boxing, and I couldn't think of a better opponent than Paulie Malignaggi for Conor. It already has a feud built in, and I'm sure they would convince Paulie to come out of retirement and get a big payday. What do you think? And will Conor continue boxing after this fight, go back to MMA, or retire altogether from combat sports? Well, first and foremost, we can't get you Sal's thoughts today, Joel, because Sal, he not here. He not here, But as far as Conor McGregor, I don't know what to think of Conor McGregor, aside from the fact that he's kind of a loose cannon and kind of wacky. But first of all, we're talking about $100 million payday for Conor. And even if he's as stupid with his money as Floyd Mayweather appears to be, and even after he pays his taxes, unlike what Floyd Mayweather does, assuming this guy walks away with $40 or $50 million, maybe after his expenses, even if he walks away with $30 million, even if he walked away with $10 million, I mean, you're talking about a life-altering payday that not only sets him up, but sets his kids up and his grandkids and great-grandkids, et cetera, that he doesn't even have yet. He's only 28. And keep in mind, this guy has made $1 million paydays before. I always wonder with these athletes, like, when do you say when? I mean, in a case like Conor McGregor, he's 28 years old, win, lose, or draw against Mayweather. He could conceivably go right off into the sunset and, live the rest of his life. Will he do that? I don't know. He's got a big ego. Depending upon his performance against Floyd, if something drastic happens against Floyd, which I don't think it will, but if something drastic happens, like he stops Floyd, God forbid, first of all, it'll be the biggest upset in sports history. And I love every minute of it. But, or even if he just goes the distance, chances are he might venture into that again, but it would have to be big money. As far as Paulie Malignaggi is concerned, Paulie Malignaggi, that was all a big PR thing for Showtime. Showtime's nervous about this fight. Nervous that they may not make the money they think. A lot of outlets, and you'll see certain news guys saying, oh, this is going to be the biggest fight in history, numbers-wise and everything. I'm not so sure. There's a lot of people that have already lost interest in this fight. They're trying to keep it in the mix because they're mentioning smaller gloves. They're talking about that again today, that the fighters might go to smaller gloves, which I doubt because, you see, this is how Floyd Mayweather cons his fans, because he makes a statement like, oh, I'll go smaller gloves. And they're the fans that are young, especially that don't really know the sport and are just fans of Floyd, don't understand that it's not as easy done as it is said. Easier said than done. I'm having trouble speaking the English today. But we'll have to wait and see. I mean, they do have to request it from the Athletic Commission. And quite honestly, it's a type of a change that in a normal situation, I'm not sure the commission would have a problem if both sides agree. However, in this particular case, and the fact that, the spineless, gutless pig of a guy who runs the Nevada State Athletic Commission, namely Bob Bennett, if he does that, then you can take it to the bank that this guy is clearly looking for the revenue that will be generated for the commission, the Athletic Commission, from Floyd Mayweather, and disregarding any safety for either fighter, let alone Conor McGregor. I feel very strongly about that this fight should have never been approved as a real fight. It should never have been approved as a real fight. And the reason is because of the experience factor. An exhibition, no problem. So if he approves those gloves, you may think right off the bat that it favors that it favors Conor McGregor because of Floyd's girly hands. But who knows? Floyd. Listen, Conor's going to tire himself out, and Floyd's going to win by knockout, which is even more sickening. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we are scheduled to have my man Dax Khan join us, so don't go anywhere.
Billy C will be right back.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
If you or a loved one have had hernia repair surgery with mesh reinforcement and suffered infection, chronic pain, mesh migration, mesh failure, organ damage, or needed additional surgery, call the Rely On Group right now. You may be eligible to receive a cash award and compensation for your medical expenses. Your voice deserves to be heard. Call the Rely On Group to be connected with a personal injury attorney for a free consultation. Call 800-715-4869. That's 800-715-4869.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. I want to give a special shout out to, we got somebody watching from Malta in Europe. My man Ronnie, give him a special shout out. He's watching the Facebook stream. And hey, don't forget to make your plans and come on down to St. Simon's Island and hang out with not only Sal and myself, but also my man Marlon Starling, former world champion Bobby Ches, and former heavyweight world champion Mike Weaver. On August 25th and 26th, we are going to be showing the a McGregor-Mayweather fight, and we got a bunch of great stuff planned. So make your reservations now. Just visit cpalms.com and give them a call and ask for the Billy C special, or just visit our website, billycboxing.com, and click on the CPalms. We'd love to have you down there. Hey, listen, it'll be worth the trip. Not only do you get to hang out with Marlon and Bobby and Mike Weaver, but you get to watch Sal get worked out by Sherman Henson with the pads and everything else. And he's in training. I talked to him the other day, and he's like, oh, I'm running, I'm working out, I'm doing this. I don't want to look foolish, So he's taking this very seriously. And you also get to watch an episode or two of Billy C's Boxing Revisited, a new series that we have coming out in the fall on the network. So make sure you make your plans today. We'd love to see you down in beautiful St. Simons. And, of course, you get to eat Sal's food. Joining us right now, all the way from New York. Oh, that's right. Wait a minute. I'm in New York, too. My man, Dax Khan. What's up, Dax?
What's up? I'm thinking about this event you're talking about. You got a matinee idol, you got a Magic Man, you're gonna have Hercules Weaver over there. It's like, it's more like you got superstars.
Yeah, well, too bad you're not coming down. Why aren't you coming?
Because I'm the superstar in New York.
Oh, all right.
If I leave, who else is gonna be here?
Yeah, this is true. But so we got a decent fight. I was talking about the Terence Crawford Julius Indongo fight this when we kicked off the show, and I love this fight, Dax. And the reason why I love this fight is because, like most Terence Crawford fights, or at least most Terence Crawford's fights in the beginning of his career, people aren't, they don't take him seriously. And I think Indongo is that guy in this fight. People don't realize how good he is. I like this fight. Not only is it historical from the perspective that the winner of this fight is going to walk away clearly cleaning out the junior welterweight division, but I think it's going to be better than people think. What's your thoughts on the fight and the outcome?
Well, on the main event, you're absolutely right. Remember, it wasn't really that long ago. Terence Crawford was more or less in this situation.
Exactly.
When he went over and he fought Ricky Burns.
I know. Well, even before that, he was brought in as an opponent a couple of times. When we break down that fight later in the week, I'll get to all of that. But he was actually the B-side on the first couple of times we saw him. And all of a sudden, and you're right, the last time they finally threw in the towel and said, wait a minute, this guy's the A-side, was the Ricky Burns fight.
Yeah, and even in the Ricky Burns fight, and Indongo as well was brought over as an opponent. But, in terms of Terence Crawford, we know the story on him. There's not much to say about him, so there's nothing that we need. Everybody here knows about Terence Crawford. Everybody in boxing knows about Terence Crawford. He's an orthodox fighter. He does his best work as a southpaw. When he is a southpaw, he's the most devastating puncher, at least for him. He's a genuine top 5 pound-for-pound fighter. He's a unified WBC, WBO champion. He's brought pretty much boxing, back to his hometown of Omaha. Julius Indongo. Now, this guy's a mystery for most people. Yes, he's a unified WBA, IBO, IBF champion, but until last December when he went out there and, he had that first-round destruction in Russia, brought in as the opponent over Edward Troyansky, nobody knew who he was. And again, he was brought over in June to face Ricky Burns in Scotland. Once again, he was the unknown, but you know what? He went out there and he won. But really, other than a little bit of footage here and there, there's not much on Indongo. And in my opinion, that sort of gives him an advantage. But I'll be honest, I can't remember the last time, maybe you can help me, that a unified world champion was so unknown throughout the sport.
You mean if Indongo wins?
No, just period. When was the last unified world champion that was such a mystery throughout the whole sport as Indongo is right now to fans?
I think you're right. Because really Indongo got more recognition from his last fight when he beat Ricky Burns. I mean, when you think about it, that actually he also has the IBO title, which they're not mentioning, but so really,
yes, that's right. Yes,
really, there's 5 belts on the line. But he beat Edwin Troyansky for the IBF and IBO titles in December of last year, and then the Ricky Burns fight was the last one. When you look throughout his resume, I mean, he did fight Kaiser Mabuza, but a lot of other names are unknown because of where he fights. So I think this is a guy that kind of busted onto the scene because of his win over Ricky Burns. So really, I think he's an extremely dangerous opponent for Terence Crawford because of the fact that he's such a mystery.
In some of the fights I've seen him in, it doesn't seem like he does anything special. He doesn't have any special footwork. His power doesn't seem to be overly hard. When he jabs, he kind of lunges in. He swings his hooks wide, but he has a high work rate. And for some reason, what I noticed, other than his one-round knockout over Troyansky, is when he hits guys, even with that straight, stiff jab, they seem to gain this respect for him. They sort of go into a survival mode type issue. On paper, this looks like a very easy fight for Terence Crawford, but Terence Crawford can start slow. And, it does take him a few rounds to warm up. And when he's doing that, we have seen him get hit a few times. Crawford, he has a durable chin. Crawford, he's definitely the superior fighter. But really what I think is the most intriguing thing here for me is, as we stated, the mystery surrounding Indongo and the fact that even though he's not really a big power puncher other than one or two fights, he does make guys respect him with those punches. So, what we could end up happening here is we could end up seeing some sort of shootout where Terence Crawford has to go in there and say, you know what? If I move around all night, I may end up being caught with one of these guys' punches. I'm going to have to stay inside. I'm going to have to shoot it out with this guy. And on the other hand, most of all, to me, what makes this fight most intriguing is Indongo has everything to lose, Bill. This is a guy who's 34 years old. He just burst onto the scene in December, and then his biggest fight actually took place in June against Ricky Burns. He can't lose. He comes from Nambia. It's not exactly a hotbed of boxing. He doesn't have a big promoter to help him get right back on the pedestal into big fights. At 34 years old with no fan following, without a big promoter behind you, losing is not an option. So I'm going to be on the edge of my seat for the first 4 rounds of this fight, saying to myself, if Crawford is forced to move backwards at any point in time in those first 4 rounds, we know it's going to be an exciting fight. But if Crawford comes forward and he starts to, take control of the tempo within the first 2 rounds, it's going to be a dominant fight for Crawford. But those first 3 or 4 rounds is really going to be a nail-biter.
Dax, the thing is Terence Crawford seems like a taller fighter every time he fights, but he's going to be giving up height in this fight. And I think it's going to boil down to Indongo's boxing ability, because Crawford, like you suggest, has a tendency to give up the first couple of rounds. He feels out his opponent, then he breaks him down and goes in for the kill, which is what I love about the guy. Do you think that Indongo really, and by the way, he's a southpaw as well, I think it's going to, the pressure on his boxing skill is going to be the difference in this fight. If he can keep Terence Crawford at a distance that helps him, and Indongo, although he's several inches taller, he's only got 1.5 inches armored reach. If he can do that, then maybe it's a different fight. And then when you add the fact that he's a southpaw, although Crawford has been known to switch during a fight, but I don't know. I think he's a mystery. As far as being in a position to have to win, when you think about where he comes from and everything else, this fight, win or lose, is going to set him up financially, I would think,
But whether or not it sets him up financially, that's not the point. The point on that is, the guy's a fighter. He's just reached the highest point of his career, and it's literally only been 9 months. You don't want the highest point of your career to last 9 months. Even if you get, even if he did make a good showing in this fight and impress fans, his career wouldn't be over. But this guy cannot go out there and get blown out. He can't have a Victor Postal type moment. He needs to go out there and do well. And I think when somebody is going out there and they know this is all on the line, that changes things a lot, and sometimes that heart can do amazing things even against a superior fighter.
Yeah, well, I mean, do you think Terence Crawford is taking him lightly? Because when I opened up the show today, I felt that the worst thing Terence Crawford could do is take this guy lightly, because that's seemingly what has happened to him in the past. People don't know of him. They take him lightly as just being a sacrificial lamb, and he comes out on top. I mean, he is a fighter that has yet to lose. He's 22-0. So do you think Crawford is taking him lightly?
I think Crawford's smarter than that. I think if Terence Crawford just goes out there and does what Terence Crawford does, and if he had seen any footage, which I'm sure he did at least see the Ricky Burns fight, and he did see the fight against Edward over in Russia, so those right there is enough to tell Terence Crawford, listen, I need to take this guy serious. Crawford isn't exactly, the type of guy that just goes out there carelessly. His getting caught by punches early, that's more or less his style, in my opinion, as he's, figuring his opponent out. This time, though, maybe he might be a little bit smarter. And this isn't the first time he's faced the guy the size of Indongo with that advantage. Remember, Postal was another guy who had quite an advantage in height and in reach over him. So look for it much to be the same, except Crawford to be a little bit more leery of the power.
You're interested in the undercard that's going to be streamed online, and first and foremost the heavyweight matchup between Bryant Jennings and Daniel Martz. Jennings has been out for a while, so I guess we can't be too critical of that. But this is a guy that's always been in fantastic shape. He's coming off that devastating knockout loss to Luis Ortiz. He's been out for a while. He's now with Top Rank, and he's facing Daniel Martz, the Mountain. He's a big guy, but very, very limited skill set wise. I'm anticipating Bryant Jennings to come out and take care of business quickly in this fight. Assuming that he does, what's next for him? And is this just a, hey, let's get you a W kind of fight? I mean, is there any rumblings about who might be taking on Jennings in the near future?
There's three fights. What makes this card most intriguing overall, in my opinion, Bill, is that there's several fights on this card that have more to do with the careers of these fighters than it actually does, with just the fight and the card itself. Starting, real quick, we'll just go over to, the Vodzik versus Craig Baker. Vodzik is teetering. People want to see this guy step up. We've only seen one chink in his armor, and that was a flash knockdown against Tommy Karpinski in the first round when he walked in with his hands down. Since then, he's destroyed guys. Uniseki Gonzalez. He has he stopped Isaac Chilemba, something that Sergey Kovalev couldn't do. And, so people are looking for somebody else to step up and make things more exciting with the Nathan Cleaverly. And the Dimitri Bivol has had to step inside for Nathan Cleaverly and Badou Jack to take place on the undercard of the Mayweather and McGregor fight. So, this is a guy right here, if, he looks good against Craig Baker, which I think he's going to blast Craig Baker out. This is a guy who hasn't fought anybody until about 3 fights ago with a winning record. And this all of a sudden, that matters to the light heavyweight division, especially because Arthur Beterbiev has a big fight coming up in a couple months. As for Bryant Jennings against Martz, this is something right here, in my opinion. Bryant Jennings needs to look spectacular. Bryant Jennings had a good showing against Vladimir Klitschko, but that was at the very tail end of Vladimir's career and the last win of Vladimir's career. So we understand there, Vladimir wasn't quite motivated, and he wasn't the Vladimir Klitschko that that we've known over the years. So that kind of takes a little luster off of that, especially when you get brutalized by Luis Ortiz the way that Bryant Jennings did. Where's his mindset? Martz, he's 6'7.5". He has some pop, but he has a soft chin. His best wins over Alexis Santos and Ruben Williams. Ruben Williams is a guy who's fought everybody, but you know what? Ruben's not a genuine heavyweight. Remember, Ruben Williams started out as a super middleweight. So, his record, his best wins are kind of deceiving on there. Bryant Jennings, he's lost to big guys. He's going to be the undersized guy here. He's been out of the ring for going on 19 months now. Where's his head? How's he going to do if he gets hit? Jennings, if he does not look spectacular against a guy of this caliber, might as well just write him off, because you know what? He's not going to be considered or even discussed among mainstream fans as, a top 10, top 20, even top 30 heavyweight.
Let me just add this about Daniel Martz. He may be 6'7", and he is. He's a tall kid, but his build is actually smaller than Jennings. Jennings is going to look bigger. Yeah. Jennings is actually going to look bigger, girth wise, shoulder to shoulder wise, except for the height. And we all know that the one thing that I've always loved about Bryant Jennings, and I think it's hard to not love about this guy, is he's always in great shape. He's a guy that has never seemed to tire. I've always, when I watched Bryant Jennings fight, I always say, well, he's going to probably run out of gas as the rounds go on, and he doesn't. He's a gym rat. He runs endless miles. He just doesn't get tired. But his weakness is the fact that he's technically a very small heavyweight in a world of heavyweights that are monsters. But like you, I don't think he's going to have much trouble with Daniel Martz. He has a very suspect chin. And when Jennings lands, he does land pretty solidly. So I'm not seeing that as much of a fight. But I'm not sure who the opponents are for Alvarado, Walters, Shakur Stevenson, and Mike Reed. Start off with Alvarado. Who's he facing?
Alvarado, off the top of my head, I forget who he's facing. You have to forgive me. I only was going to break down these fights, the ones we discussed earlier. As far as Jennings, I didn't think that he's not going to win. It's just he has to look spectacular in his win.
Well, he has been out for quite a while. I mean, he's got to have some kind of
when you lose two back-to-back and you've been out that long, Bill, we know this is a sport with a short memory and the fans are unforgiving, and you have to look spectacular when you come off two losses. You mentioned the guy earlier, Yuriorkis Gamboa. He had two back-to-back losses, and he fought a guy he didn't look very good against, and all of a sudden, you know what? Gamboa's done. Gamboa's washed up. Gamboa's past his prime. Same thing can happen to Brian Jennings. Yes or no?
No. Listen. If he looks like Gamboa, put a fork in him. But I doubt it. Gamboa kind of started looking bad, and we'll have to wait and see. But did you look at Walter's opponent at all?
Yes, Nicholas Walters, another guy fought on the same card that we were at the same night that Brian Jennings was stopped by Luis Ortiz. That was the night that Nicholas Walters had fought Jason Sosa. On a Saturday, he's going to fight Arturo Reyes, who's a tough guy. Walters, there's another guy. Talk about falling far from grace against Jason Sosa. I actually gave that fight to Sosa. It was a majority draw, which was rather generous. Nicholas Walters looked horrible that night, and then he quits in his corner against his fight against Lomachenko. Nicholas Walters didn't seem like it was too long ago that Nicholas Walters was really being considered as possibly another fight or two. This guy could be, enter that pound for pound list somewhere near the bottom. But Nicholas Walters. We've seen that was the first night we've really seen the chinks in his armor. In the past, Miguel Mariaga, a durable fighter, another former Lomachenko opponent. Jason Sosa, a durable, tough fighter, another former Lomachenko opponent. Two guys that Walters also faced, two guys that Walters wasn't able to stop. Walters' real career and real hype has been built off those sensational knockouts of Victor Chinian and Nonito Donaire. But, Nicholas Walters always seems that he gets discouraged around the 7th or 8th round when his power isn't coming through and he starts to gas a little bit. Arturo Reyes is that type of guy that will make him do that. He has a little less skill than a Mariachi, certainly a lot less skill than a Jason Sosa, but he has a better chin. In his 8 losses, he's never been stopped, and he's been in there with some good guys. He's been in there with some Paui Vidyeka. He's been in there with Avram Maris. He's been in there with Tevin Farmer. He's been in there with Alberto Guarva. Champions, veterans, very solid, respected journeyman. Some have some good pop. So even if he wins, and I do expect Walters to win, once again, just like Brian Jennings, if he doesn't look spectacular, Nicholas Walters is never going to be able to shake off what happened inside that Lomachenko fight. So, this is a fight that's imperative for Nicholas Walters to look sensational, to get back into that mix and even be considered as a possible main eventer again, or even somebody that will be on a card of this level again.
I agree with you about Walters. I think that Jennings, his only losses, aside from the Luis Ortiz loss, the only loss came against very big guys, and he's just a small heavyweight. I would love to see Jennings go into the cruiserweight division if he can, which I would think he could, especially now with the World Boxing Super Series really bringing the cruiserweights to light, and I think that they're going to be really in the forefront after this tournament is over based on who's fighting who. But I 100% agree with you about Nicholas Walters because of the gift that he got and then that quitting against Lomachenko. I think that's the reason we haven't seen him. I think that there was just such a backlash against him for that. And, the way he just gave up, the frustration, it was similar to the frustration of of Roberto Duran and Sugar Ray Leonard. But the difference is Duran was always such a warrior and fought so many, other great fighters, and Nicholas Walters hadn't, and I mean, he fought some tough guys, and then all of a sudden he disappears. So I'm with you there. He's in a must-win and must-look-great scenario.
Comparing that to Duran is, I understand what you were trying to do, and that's something that's been discussed over the years. But I was discussing this with an old timer the other day, and a lot of that no mas is even though it has haunted Duran so long, it's the only time that Roberto Duran ever showed that he wasn't this warrior. And it almost in a way, this old guy was telling me, that was almost more of an insult to Sugar Ray Leonard than it was to Roberto Duran, if people actually think about it. When Roberto Duran throws his hands up and he, turned around, he says, no mas, it's almost like he was saying, you know what, I came to fight like a man. I didn't come, to run around the ring like a sissy. You don't want to fight like a man, I'm leaving, because you know what, I fight men, I don't fight dancers.
No, I didn't, and I agree with that. And that's why I put at the end, he's such a warrior, Nicholas Walters, that's not the case with him. People are looking at. My point is people don't really look at Roberto Duran as a quitter. Anybody that knows the sport doesn't look at Duran as a quitter, even though the no mas fight he literally quit. But Nicholas Walters, on the other hand, that's all that's in my mind is that he quit because he was being he was being destroyed. He was looking foolish against Lomachenko, but Nicholas Walters possesses that one-punch knockout power, which should have kept him going. But no way did I try to compare the two.
No, I was just throwing that in there, especially because Roberto Duran, what he accomplished after no mas, going and beating guys that beat him. For example, he goes out there and he beats an Iran Barkley after Iran Barkley knocks out the guy in Tommy Hearns who knocked Roberto Duran out cold. There's the difference in the caliber of fighter. But the other fight I wanted to talk about was the Dillian Whyte against the Malcolm Tan fight, which again is something that's very interesting in my opinion, considering all the talk that's been surrounding Dillian Whyte, Eddie Hearn, and the call-outs and the public claims against Deontay Wilder, where Deontay Wilder wouldn't take $3 million, 3.5, and $4 million. Dillian Whyte's coming over to face a Malcolm Tan, a 38-year-old veteran who he actually had 8 or 9 years off. He's only fought twice since 2007. Now, how's Dillian Whyte going to adjust here? He's coming here to America for the very first time. There's a good chance that there's going to be a lot of Wilder supporters in the audience, even though Wilder's not from Nebraska. There's going to, this is Wilder's home country, and Deontay Wilder himself may show up. There's going to be a lot of pressure on Dillian Whyte, and how's he going to react? In my opinion, it seems to me that Dillian Whyte and Eddie Hearn are coming here, and they're using Malcolm Tan similar in the way that a Thomas Adamek used Kevin McBride or Michael Grant en route to facing Vitaly Klitschko, wanting to show size doesn't matter, but in the case of Adamek versus Klitschko, it did anyways. But, how is this going to really play out in your opinion? Do you think Dillian Whyte will do if he comes here and all of a sudden he has a hostile crowd and Deontay Wilder should happen to be in attendance?
I don't think it's going to. I think that they're bringing Dillian Whyte here, to do just like what you suggest, introduce him to the U.S. fans, possibly be an opponent for Deontay Wilder. I think he's going to perform like he always does. He's a more refined Derek Chisora, really. I mean, he's still learning. I think. I don't think he's polished. But Deontay Wilder. We talked about this fight. There's more. Deontay Wilder is running out of these kinds of opponents, and I'm not suggesting Dillian Whyte is an easy opponent for Deontay, but Deontay Wilder has gotten himself into a position, Dax, where he has to fight a substantial opponent at this point. The guy pounds his chest, says he's the best. Now he's saying everybody's ducking him and all of this BS. The truth of the matter is he needs to fight one of those top guys. And I guess the sad truth is that Dillian Whyte is one of those top guys. But I think that in Wilder's case and the way that his management does things, they try to get the maximum revenue for the least amount of fight. And unfortunately, I think the money that he can make to fight Anthony Joshua supersedes a stepping stone fight. Even if he can make substantial money, I think that Dillian Whyte is dangerous. Anybody that can hit is dangerous for Deontay Wilder.
Now, also, but think about this, though. Malcolm Tan, despite the layoffs, despite he's only fought twice in 7 or 8 years, and he's 38 years old, he did just beat a young, undefeated Nicholas Asbury last October before losing to the Russian slugger Sergey Kuzmin in June. You know, Asbury is similar in age and size to Dillian Whyte, and in the heavyweight division, we know anything can happen, especially when a guy stands 6'6" and has an 80-inch reach. And he's faced names in the past like a Chris Arreola and I think Dmitrienko when they were both still relevant, so an upset could happen, you know. And gosh forbid if that would take place, that would really talk about setting back Dillian Whyte's plans and even Eddie Hearn's plans, you know, as a case for the Wilder bout, where even you know, it could kind of make an excuse on why would they fight the Anthony Joshua, considering Anthony Joshua was stunned and rocked by a guy that just got knocked out by a 38-year-old journeyman who hasn't fought in almost a decade.
I think that I think that, to be honest with you, I think that Dillian Whyte is being primed and set for a possible matchup with the Joseph Parker Hughie Fury winner. And then if you could get Dillian Whyte a belt, then the domestic matchup between him and Anthony Joshua becomes much more feasible. I really believe, Dax, that Deontay Wilder's being left out here. And listen, hold that thought. I'm going to take a short break because I'm over my time here. Hold that thought. We are going to take a short break. When we come back, Dax will respond to that, and maybe some other things we'll get to him do. So don't go anywhere.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
Tell me, Kenny, how is it you rub my belly so fine with that secret rub of yours? And don't even tell me what you're gonna do next. I love you, Kenny Bear. Tell me, Kenny baby, what you gonna do next?
Kenny Bear's home for the barbecue rub and seasoning. Grab a bottle today.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And We're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C Show. Don't forget to join us for our weekend. Yeah, you know, McGregor's fighting Mayweather, and most of us true boxing fans are laughing at this fight, and most fans that I talk to aren't even watching it. A lot of MMA fans are, but hey, we want you to hang out with us for that weekend. Yeah, we're going to show the fight. But not only will you get to hang out with Sal and myself, but former world champions Marlon Starling, Bobby Ches, and Mike Weaver all are going to be there. Renowned trainer Sherman Henson will be working out Sal Rocky Senecola. That's right. He'll be hitting the mitts and working out. Sal's actually getting in shape now. You wonder why he's not here today. He was out running. He's working on his Bowflex, all this stuff he's telling me. He's getting ready to put on a show. So not only do you get to do that, you get to meet and greet. You're going to eat some food. We'll also be eating at Sal's. We'll do a little golf outing too, play golf with the guys. And the best part, aside from showing the fights, is we're going to give you a sneak peek at our new boxing series called Billy C's Boxing Revisited. It's going to begin airing in the fall on the networks, but we are going to show you at least one episode, maybe two, in its entirety on the big screen over that weekend. So be part of it. Come on down, visit cpalms.com, or just visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the CPalms banner. Give them a call and tell them you want all the info on the Billy C special. They have several packages, includes meals and all that stuff. You guys will love it. So come on down. If you're going to come, drop me an email. Let me know when you're coming into town, and I'll hang out with you. Billy at Talkin' Boxing, TalkinBoxing.com. We're here with Dax Khan. And Dax, before we went to break, we were talking about the possibility, at least I thought, that the possibility of a potential matchup between Dillian Whyte and the winner of Hughie Fury and Joseph Parker might be able to set up a fight between Anthony Joshua and that winner for another belt. But I also was saying that Deontay Wilder has kind of pounded his chest out of the mix. It seems like he is the least coveted heavyweight right now. What's your thoughts?
I absolutely agree with you. In fact, what I think will happen, more than likely, UK, those guys over there are smarter than the American fans want to give them credit for. Aside from Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor, which is really only such a big fight because of the combination of the MMA fans and the boxing fans, and a lot of the boxing fans, as you stated earlier, are kind of turning against it. But Anthony Joshua against Hughie Fury, should Hughie Fury defeat Joseph Parker for that WBO title inside Wembley or one of the other big arenas over there, would potentially be the hugest heavyweight title fight that we've had in 30 years in terms of sales and in terms of revenue and pay-per-view. They had pay-per-view over there, guys. Guess what? The UK has pay-per-view, and they do very well over there, and they sell more on their pay-per-view than a lot of the pay-per-views here do. They sold more for Klitschko and Joshua than they did for Mayweather versus Pacquiao, and they get more views in the other ways. So that could actually be the super fight. And again, like you stated, Deontay Wilder can find himself being the man out and then kicking himself later on, saying, I should have took this fight against Dillian Whyte, because now what am I left with? I'm left with the same old recycled things over and over again. Or you know what might happen? There might be the second or actually the third time that Brian Jennings gets himself a world title fight. But that's basically how it's going to end up, in my opinion.
Well, Deontay Wilder, Deontay Wilder is now pounding his chest saying everyone's afraid of him. So all his fans, followers, whatever, they're buying into that crap. The sad part of that whole scenario you mentioned is Hughie Fury, because no disrespect to Hughie Fury, but in my opinion, he doesn't even deserve to be fighting for a world title, and neither did Joseph Parker for that matter, but it is what it is. Parker's got the title, and to have such a big fight between Anthony Joshua and Hughie Fury, if he would have climbed the ranks the way I believe fighters should climb the ranks and fight stiffer opposition every time out, he would have developed into something. He had the injury that set him back. He had a comeback kind of a fight recently, and he's going to step in there with Joseph Parker, and he does have a chance of upsetting the apple cart there. But Anthony Joshua right now has some big fights that you could conceivably match him up with, Dax, and one being, of course, Deontay Wilder, and the other one being Luis Ortiz. And Kubrat Pulev isn't a bad fight either, considering Pulev and Ortiz are two mandatories for the two belts. So, you could see him do one of those fights, and I just think that all of the powers that be would accept Anthony Joshua to fight Deontay Wilder now. And even if they didn't, I think this is a case where Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder is a bigger fight than the sanctioning bodies. And any sanctioning body, and specifically the WBA or the IBF, that would strip Anthony Joshua of the belt for not fighting Luis Ortiz or Kubrat Pulev, respectively, is foolish, and I don't see it happening. That's the fight that Deontay could make a ton of money on. That's the fight Anthony Joshua can make a ton of money on. And that's the fight that at the end, the guy who's up winning, the guy who ends up winning, would be regarded, whether there were belts on the line or not, as the heavyweight champion of the world. That's my thoughts.
Well, anyway, you know what? It's all about a power play and everybody who wants to have things their own way. Deontay Wilder, while he's a talented guy, and I believe he's a very good heavyweight, he doesn't get a lot of the credit he respects because, again, he doesn't step up his levels of opposition. And when he does, the PBC fights, he's making decent money, but he's not making the huge money like you stated. He wouldn't make the money that he would have with Dillian White. Anthony Joshua, he has continuously stepped up his level of competition. At times, Deontay Wilder has regressed back. In boxing, there's an A side and there's a B side for a reason. Deontay Wilder is the B side. People are under and I argue continuously, right now, America is the B side of boxing, period. Forget Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor, okay? That's more of a circus. That's more of an event. It's not really a fight of relevance. Outside of the Crawford-Indongo fight coming up this weekend, outside of the Triple G and Canelo fight and the Maris-Santa Cruz rematch set for later on this year, understand this. The American boxing scene is, there's a U.S. invasion, more or less. Triple G is not even a U.S. promoted fighter. The Superfly card coming up in September 9th with Roman Gonzalez, Rung Vasi 2, Inui Quadras, Juan Francisco Estrada. They're all Taikan fighters. We have a U.S. invasion with Jorge Linares and Luke Campbell in September in Inglewood for the WBA title. We have some of the World Boxing Super Series fights coming here. Dorticos, Kudashov is coming here. Arthur Beterbiev versus Eric Coelling in Vegas. Neither one of those guys are American fighters. One of the other big fights in October is going to be over in the UK, and that's the George Groves and Jamie Cox card. We have the Ndam and Moya Rota rematch. So guess what? American boxing is really lacking, and even the ones that are coming here, they're taking over. And right now, America is pretty much thriving on Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor. When that's done, what do you have left after that? You have Andre Ward, who's probably not going to fight again until 2029 because he stubbed his toe. After that, you have yourself Tank Davis, which is some guy that follows me on Twitter who insists Tank Davis can beat anybody. Matter of fact, the day of Salvador Sanchez, the anniversary of his death, the guy's sitting there for some reason inboxing me, telling me how Tank Davis is going to sit there and he would have beat Sanchez inside of a round. This is the American boxing scene, and it's taking place everywhere else. So Deontay Wilder, Bill, irregardless of what your opinion is, Deontay Wilder needs to go someplace else or he's just going to be another Adonis Stevenson. They might as well fight. They should have made that on the undercard of Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor, because that's a joke as well. Might as well make everything a joke.
I agree with everything you said. I mean, the truth of the matter is that Deontay Wilder has never fought a quality heavyweight. The only guy that we give him credit for beating, which at the time we thought was a quality heavyweight, was Berman Stavern when he won the title. We've all come to realize that Berman Stavern is not a quality heavyweight, and no one else on his resume is. The best fight on Deontay Wilder's resume is Artur Spitska, in my opinion. And he laid him out. The difference with Deontay Wilder and like a Huey Fury is that Deontay does have the punching power. But he steps in there with a real fighter, especially Anthony. Anthony Joshua is the best heavyweight in the world today. But you are so right about all of the fights that you name. Yeah, listen, the biggest, as proof to me, and you and I both love the World Boxing Super Series, and most boxing fans do. I happen to love the cruiserweight division, and I'm glad, and the super middleweight division is exciting too, and I'm glad that Richard Schaefer and Ringstar Sports are bringing us a tournament that features these weight classes. And not only that, but they feature the world champions of these weight classes, which really speaks volumes to me. And it also is pretty obvious that the fighters involved are willing to fight. What has happened to the American fighters, and the simple fact that there's no American fighters in the World Boxing Super Series, the willingness for fighters outside the U.S. to actually fight in real fights, putting everything on the line, is what blows my mind away, because it's clear that when you look at the United States-based fighters, these guys are all about safety first, so much so that they won't even enter a tournament like this. And that is what I can't understand that boxing fans support. And I can't understand that a young fan today would make a statement like, well, so-and-so is good, so he's better than Joe Schmo, so he doesn't have to fight him. They have been brainwashed. They've been brainwashed to think that a fighter with an undefeated record is good, and therefore they don't even have to fight another guy, which is a joke to me. The U.S. fighters have proven that safety first is their main goal, and I'll tell you what, that's why the sport of professional boxing is becoming so popular outside the U.S. They may want to come here to fight, and maybe because of the pay-per-view pool, and like you suggest, they make a lot of money elsewhere too. But it's pretty sad to see that the majority of quality fighters are non-U.S. fighters.
Well, even the ones that are based here, just look at it, we'll end it here. Outside of Terence Crawford and outside of Errol Spence, in my opinion, those are the last two American fighters that will fight anybody, anywhere, anytime. Floyd Mayweather is retired, but Floyd Mayweather-McGregor is not even two boxers. It's a boxer versus an MMA guy. But Conor McGregor, he's not American, even though he fights here. He's not American. Triple G and Canelo, the next big fight. Guess what? Neither one of those guys are American fighters. Nobody on this Superfly card is an American fighter, and every other fight card that's involved with these other guys from America that are big names, their opponents, guess what? These big names aren't happening without an opponent from somewhere else. Where are these American fights happening between these American fighters? How far has boxing fallen in America? And why has that happened, in my personal opinion, is because of reasons like you were stating before, and a lot of people are stating, not just me, but you know what it is? It's that everybody has to have some sort of an advantage and some sort of an angle, and things have to be exactly in their favor. Andre Ward, who should right now be the American fighter, he should be the top guy, he should have taken over for where Floyd Mayweather left off. But Andre Ward can't draw anything, and why is that? Because he's so inactive, and any little thing he looks for to cancel a fight. So you know what? People forget about him, and when he does fight, it's almost like a leap year. So now that's the American boxing scene. Whatever happened to the guys fighting anybody, anywhere, anytime?
Well, what happened is it's simple. It's Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather's success and the way Floyd Mayweather did his career, everybody's trying to copy. And Andre Ward is the first guy on that list. Andre Ward, you can't take anything away from Andre Ward, because when he fought in the Super 6, he fought everybody. And, 6 years later, he fought the guy who, was regarded as the best light heavyweight in Sergey Kovalev and beat him. So, I mean, it is what it is. But I agree with you. Andre Ward's biggest problem is he can't draw flies to a garbage convention, but yet he negotiates and acts like he's, as famous and as known in the sports world as Floyd Mayweather, and he's not. So I agree with everything you say. The U.S. fighters really are. It's a shame that they're not willing to fight anybody. And if they are, they're with a team that won't let them fight anybody. And that's something else we got to point out, Dax, that the fighters really, in most cases, will want to fight anybody, and then their management / promotion / whoever, gets in their ear and talks them out. And I honestly, as much as I'm so critical of Deontay Wilder, and this is the sad part, I think that Deontay Wilder does truly believe he's that good and that he does want to fight anybody. And I think that, thankfully for him, that his management just realizes that this guy is, basically Harder They Fall main character Toro. This is just a guy that has been built up, and they're just trying to get the most money out of him before he goes tumbling down. And there's another reason why they should make the Anthony Joshua fight. He should be able to get $8 to $10 million for that fight and fight over in England. And should he win, the guy is going to be, making gazillions. If he loses, at least everybody cashes out with a nice chunk of change. I don't know.
I think Deontay Wilder I give him a whole lot more credit than what you do in terms of his ability. But with the one thing that has hurt him is what we have seen with a lot of fighters is his level of opponents don't increase. So, you start becoming comfortable, and then once you get put into that dangerous situation, you don't know how to react because you've never had that adversity, and that's the biggest issue with Deontay Wilder. He's never had to overcome that adversity, and one day he's going to have to overcome that adversity, and unfortunately that adversity is going to come against one of these showcase opponents, and that's usually when the guy ends up getting knocked out and ending up embarrassed by getting beaten by a guy that they should have and would have on any other night beat, but you know what, they were just not prepared for that moment, and they got shell-shocked, much like a Lucien Boutte against Carl Froch. Lucien was doing great, he had some moments, but he never dealt with something like a Carl Froch, and what happened is it ended his career. We see it happen all the time, and unfortunately that's what's going to happen with Deontay Wilder. Hopefully he makes himself some money in the meantime.
Well, he certainly is against the ropes here, Dax, because Deontay Wilder has to fight a legitimate heavyweight next. I think he knows it. I think his team knows it. The networks are looking for it for wherever he would want to be broadcast on. He's not going to be able to get away with one of these saps. He is the WBC champion. I don't even know who the number one WBC guy is ranked, but that he could get. Berman Stavern is trying to get the fight with him, which he could hide behind. Well, I'm being forced to fight Stavern, but that's just another fight that will not show us anything. And remember, the best performance that Deontay has had in his whole career was his fight against Berman Stavern. In that fight, he displayed that he can box. He listened to Mark Breland, and he put on a good show in terms of boxing ability. But what he shows in his other fights is that when they put him in with a cupcake, his main goal is to knock the guy out. And I think that that's a dangerous habit to get into. When you underestimate or take an opponent or know that your opponent is not going to last, that you go in there trying to knock him out, because we all know in the heavyweight division, any heavyweight can knock any other heavyweight out at any time. When do you draw that? When do you flip that switch? If Deontay Wilder did step in the ring with a guy like Ortiz, even Pulov, or even Anthony Joshua or Dillian White, like you suggest, how's he going to fight him? Is he going to fight him smart? Does he remember how to fight smart? It's been several years since he fought Stavern. I don't know. There's a lot of question marks. He's, and you're 100% right about Anthony Joshua. He's fought better and better opposition every time out. He's getting better. He's moving up. He's improving. He's learning from his mistakes and his tests. Deontay hasn't. What's he learned? I see Deontay Wilder as a paper champion. I really do.
Look at remember when he fought the drummer boy with Molina?
Yeah, Eric Molina.
Yeah, remember, he was in the corner. He was trying to do the shoulder roll, fight off the ropes. And, even though he ended up winning that fight, he got buzzed a few times. And Molina's not exactly even a B-level fighter.
What about Duhaupas, too? Remember Duhaupas?
Yeah, Duhaupas, there was a guy, again, Duhaupas, that's funny, with Crawford-Indongo coming this weekend, Duhaupas was kind of like that, a guy nobody had anything idea about. He was expected to get blown out in one round, and all of a sudden, something, he gives Deontay Wilder hell. It's these guys, and that's more or less, the focal point of what we were saying. It's these guys you know nothing about, and you think you're going to go in there, and this is going to be a showcase for you, and these are the guys that end up the ones really doing the damage, either giving you the hardest fight of your life, or they're the ones that end up actually beating you and derailing your train.
Yeah, well, this is why, Dax, I know you and I have talked about this a million times, but this is why the management and promoters of these young fighters aren't helping them by coddling them. Unfortunately, and if I put my promoter hat back on, I understand why they do it from a monetary point of view and for a network, because let's face it, the television network guys that approve the fights and make the deals don't know a left hook from a fish hook. So when they bring a fight to them on paper, and they see a guy's undefeated, they assume he's good. But, if you're building up a fighter and you definitely know that you got some talent in this fighter, you're damn right you want to increase his level of opposition. I'm not talking about put him in there with a killer, but you can't keep giving him the same level of opposition because they just don't get better. And I think that that's what's happened with Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder, in the two fights that you referred to, Eric Molina and Johan Duhaupas, are great examples of a fighter in Deontay Wilder that should have taken those guys out. Now, granted, Duhaupas has a solid chin, but he should have taken those guys out, and he tried. And both fights went on and on and on. So I don't know, man. Obviously, he's had some injuries. He ripped his bicep. He broke his hand, blah, blah, blah. But at this point in time, as far as the heavyweight division goes, it is still the most important division. Anthony Joshua is the man. Everybody else has to go to him. Deontay Wilder, in my opinion, cannot demand anything. I think that Deontay Wilder is in a position right now, and I think that Al Heyman knows it too, that he's going to have to go and travel to fight Anthony Joshua over in England. If Anthony wants a fight in England, he may want to come here in the U.S. And, the more I think of it, the more you're right. I think that Deontay Wilder should have taken the Dillian White fight, and maybe he could have made some money and, solidified his position at the bargaining table. At this point, he's losing all his bargaining chips.
Well, Lennox Lewis, Vladimir Klitschko, they came here because they had to. America was the hotbed, and that's where you needed to be to make the big money. But over the last couple of years, it has shown that over in Europe, the money can be made. And over in Europe, you'll get the packed house. They started their pay-per-views, so they have everything here, and that's why, they're really stepping up on top of the fact that, we're discovering a lot better fighters. So, yes, Anthony Joshua is going to have to go over there, or he's going to have to stay here, and he's going to have to continue doing what he's doing for these minor paydays and hope that one of these fights that happens, he doesn't get upset. That's the only way that I see it personally. Let me ask you a question, and we'll end it here, and maybe you can get some emails and stuff, and we can talk about these emails once they come in. I'd like people describe what a world-class fighter is. Not just you. I'm saying I see people describe a world-class fighter. In your opinion, what is a world-class fighter, and what makes somebody a world-class fighter? I had this conversation with a couple people about a week and a half ago, and I was amazed at the responses. And one of these responses are a lot of what's wrong with this sport. And much to what we were just talking about, too many of these people were focusing on these O's, and they weren't thinking about nothing behind there. What makes a world-class fighter isn't the wins and losses.
No, listen, it's a great question, and you're posing that. So anybody that email me your definition of what you think a world-class fighter is. Billy at Talkin' Boxing, TalkinBoxing.com. And you make a great point, Dax, as we wrap it up here. I agree with you, and that's been, and you and I talk all the time, and that's been one of my pet peeves with, I don't want to sound like my father or grandfather about this young generation, these kids, but it's true, that they have drank the Kool-Aid and they believe all this. The other day, and occasionally I'll go through and I'll look at some comments on other versions of the show, and I saw one the other day, and the title of the show was something along the lines of Floyd Mayweather scamming his fans or whatever. Now he's saying, he's like, I compared it during that show to Bob Arum saying, oh, no, I lied yesterday, but today I'm telling the truth. Well, that's the same thing Floyd is doing. He's saying, oh, yeah, I've said I was going to go toe-to-toe. I said I was going to be exciting fight all 49 times, and I lied to you people. But this time, I'm not going to lie. So the heading was kind of like Floyd scammed us throughout his whole career. Why should we believe him now? And by the way, anybody, that particular episode also has a very extensive discussion on head trauma in boxing and other sports. You should definitely listen to it if you haven't watched that show. But Dax, the funny thing is, I get this comment that this fan says he's not lying, he's telling the truth, and I believe him, because he said that, and I say to myself, how can these kids, and I say kids, anybody that's 35 or younger to me is a kid, how can they believe that whatever this guy says, and I'm saying this guy meaning Floyd or Deontay Wilder or whatever, is fact? I mean, I understand that it's the same group of people that won't believe 100,000 ringside reporters saying that Sugar Ray Robinson was the best, and if they can't watch video of him fighting as a welterweight, then they don't think he's the best. The same fans that want to see it, touch it, feel it, believe everything certain people say. I don't understand it.
You know what? I never seen a dinosaur, but I'm pretty sure, and I bet anything I have that, those things were damn big. But you speak about, I don't want to sound like my father, something he would say, and you see how Aram, I'm lying today. I was lying yesterday, but I'm telling the truth today. My abuela, God rest her soul, she used to tell me something years ago. Don't believe anything you hear and only half of what you see. And that more or less, pertains to this situation. You can't believe anything you hear, and you can only believe half of what you see because, a lot of it just is a smoke screen. You have to, actually take the time and step back and look into things. And that's why I stress so much into looking behind the record of something. And I always use the Arturo Gatti versus Thomas Damgard fight as an example. Damgard was 43-0. He was supposedly the A side. Gatti was at the end of his career. Damgard held one of these obsolete sanctioning body world titles, and Gatti, pretty much made a showcase at him in 3 or 4 rounds. But you didn't expect this to happen. Looking at the numbers and on paper and at the stage of Gatti's career and the recent losses, Arturo Gatti should have been the guy that was laying on his back in a couple rounds, not Thomas Damgard. And that happens just to be the difference. And the internet and social media is a big part of that. All you need is just 1 or 2 people who believe this one thing, and then they start telling this guy and that guy, and it starts like a whole chain reaction, and it goes around. And social media is almost like a lot like, being bullied. Nobody wants to disagree with the one guy about one fighter because he has so many followers or different friends on his list. You know what? Then all of a sudden everybody's going to argue with them and you won't get these followers. And that's the tricky part of the sport. And something, that's how, a lot of people learned how to manipulate boxing and promote certain fighters. That's how Dana White made the UFC so huge, was through social media and the internet and knowing exactly how to word things and put things out. For example, the video that they put out of Paulie Malignaggi and Conor McGregor, when Paulie goes down, they only took that certain little clip of Paulie going down, and all of a sudden everybody was so excited, and oh my gosh, McGregor knocked Paulie down. You know what? But you didn't see the other 10 or 12 rounds, and you didn't see the other 4 or 5 versions from different angles when none of those punches landed. But that's the beauty of the internet, and that's the way it's promoted today, and that's more or less the mindset and the things of fans today. Or as that cheesy commercial goes, Bill, if it's on the internet, it has to be true.
This is true. Dax, I appreciate you coming by today, and we'll look forward to you later in the week, brother.
All right, everybody, enjoy your day.
That's Dax Khan. You can check him out on our webpage. He's got his column in there, and you can check him out here on Mondays and then later in the week as well. Hey, listen, I'm going to take a short break, and when I come back, I got some other stuff cooking, so don't go anywhere.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And one more time, I'm going to mention to you guys about our event. I know we've been talking about it for a while, but it's crunch time now. And we want you to come on down and join me and Sal Rocky Senecola and St. Simon's Island for August 25th and 26th. Joining us. And will be available to you 100% for the weekend. It's former world champions Marlon Starling, Bobby Ches, and Mike Weaver. And also Sherman Henson, a renowned trainer out of Tampa, Florida, will be working out Sal Rocky Senecola, hitting the mitts and doing some other stuff so you guys can see the old man at his best. And he's training now for it. He's training to train with Sherman. So we're going to have a great time. Not only will you get to meet these guys and eat some of Sal's delicious Italian cuisine, you will also be able to play a little golf with the guys and have an official meet and greet where we're going to be showing our at least one, maybe even two full episodes of Billy C's Boxing Revisited, our new show, which will begin airing in the fall on the networks. We'll keep you posted on which networks you can watch them on. And we're real excited about this series. You're going to love it. And it's worth the trip in itself to come down and watch that. Now, just call the Sea Palms Resort on St. Simon's Island for the Billy C. Boxing Special. You can just get all the information by going to seapalms.com or just visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the Sea Palms banner. Don't forget, Wednesday, Boxing Hall of Famer Larry Hazard will be joining us, giving us his thoughts on the Terence Crawford Julius Indongo fight, as well as some other stuff. And we also have our Blast from the Past, which has been requested by you guys. And we do the Blast. It's one of our oldest and most favorite segments of the show. If you send me a request for a Blast, we'll do it. And as per request, this week we're doing former world champion and Boxing Hall of Famer Fritzy Zivik. Talk about a guy who fought everybody. And then more. And then again, I mean, Fritzy Zivik, wait till you learn about this guy. But great stuff coming up later in the week. One programming note for that week that we are doing the McGregor-Mayweather special Billy C. gathering down in St. Simon's. We won't be doing a live show, and I think we're off air from August 22nd until the 30th. I think we're off the 22nd through the 30th. So mark that down on your calendar. It'll be a good time to catch up on some of the past shows. And like I said, the one up on YouTube with the title Floyd Scamming His fans or whatever, check out that show for the discussion that we had, an extensive discussion on head trauma and safety in boxing. It's worthwhile to listen to that. On this day, August 14th, well, first and foremost, I want to wish a woman a very happy birthday today. She's basically my mom, who's been it's been a substitute mom my whole life for me since I lost mine at the ripe old age of 16. So, Mrs. D, happy birthday. You know I love you, and hopefully you got my card today. But anyway, on this day, August 14th, in 1922, Dave Rosenberg wins a 15-round decision over Phil King to win the vacant New York World Middleweight title. That took place in the Bronx. On this day in 1903, James Jeffries knocks out James Corbett in the 10th round to retain his World Heavyweight title. It took place in San Francisco, California. How about on this day in 1920, Sam Langford wins a 10-round newspaper decision over Sam McVeigh in East Chicago, Indiana. Two Hall of Fame fighters, both extremely talented. And finally, on this day, August 14th in 1942, a guy that the best ever, and I'm talking about Sugar Ray Robinson, who is arguably the best ever to ever lace on a pair of boxing gloves. This is the only guy that he didn't want to fight. Now, it's not that he ducked him because of reasons like why some other fighters ducked fighters, but he didn't want to fight Charlie Burley because Charlie Burley was so slick in the ring, he didn't want to look bad against him. It's the only guy he publicly said he would not fight. Charlie Burley, on this day, August 14th in 1942, knocks out Holman Williams, both Hall of Famers, in the 9th round to improve to 53 wins, 7 losses, and a draw, and the fight took place in New Orleans. This fight was for the colored World Middleweight title and was considered to be one of the greatest fights of all time. Try and find it if you can. Charlie Burley against Holman Williams from 1942, one of the greatest fights of all time. So check that one out. Hey, listen, don't forget to tune in tomorrow morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, ciao, baby.